5. Shoyo didn't get out of bed. He couldn't remember the last time he slept straight through until morning. It was eerily silent. No car alarms or garbage trucks or horns honking. Sounds that punctuated his memories of growing up in New York City. Not even the sound of gardeners. Which seems to be LA's unique soundtrack. Just silence. Oh, and a bird chirping somewhere in the distance. He'd left the privacy curtains open, giving him a view of the pool through the French doors. What a view to wake up to. He rolled over and checked his phone. The first thing he saw was a text from Tadashi. "We're at the hospital. Beverly and St. Vincent. Get here as soon as you can." What the freak? He quickly typed a reply, then jumped in the shower. He'd planned on spending the day in his swimsuit while he caught up on his laundry. Everything was dirty. Shit. What the hell was he going to wear? He got out of the shower and dug through his suitcase. The only clean thing he had were a pair of blue shorts he'd yet to wear. Mostly because he hated them. They were too loose around his waist. He put the shorts on and went into the main house. He had no idea where Kay's bedroom was. Scanning the main floor, he decided it had to be upstairs. He opened the first door and found what was obviously a guest room. It was too sterile to actually be lived in. He closed that door and went to the next one. Bingo. He was immediately drawn to the floor-to-ceiling windows on the far side of the room. Shoyo pushed a white sheer curtain to the side and discovered a balcony with a breathtaking view of the ocean. He wanted to step out onto the balcony, but he stopped when he remembered why he was there. He was expected to be at the hospital soon. He turned around and scanned the room. The bed was made up. The feather duvet was carefully tucked in at the end. That seemed strange since as far as Shoyo knew Kay didn't have a live-in housekeeper. Were those hospital corners the work of Kay himself? God, he's tidy. Shoyo went into the bathroom. It smelled like Kay. Soft vanilla-ish something or other, and it was just as tidy as the bedroom. The only thing sitting on the two-sink countertop was a toothbrush resting on a neatly folded white towel with a tube of toothpaste evenly lined up next to it. On the other side of the room was a huge bathtub that Shoyo eyed with envy since it was a luxury few New Yorkers had. Shoyo flipped the light switch on the closet and the whole room lit up. Holy shit. Shoes were neatly stacked on special lighted shelves. The clothes seemed to be color coordinated and separated according to season. Jesus K. OCD much? He rifled haphazardly through a rack that seemed to be strictly summer blouses and found a short-sleeve white gypsy-style blouse. He quickly put it on and shrugged at himself in the mirror. It didn't look great with the shorts, but it would have to do. He looked at the rack again and noticed the mess he made. Most of the blouses have been pushed to one side and were no longer evenly spaced. He tried to separate them but quickly gave up. Aw, screw it. He didn't have the patience for such ridiculous perfection. Besides, it might do Kay some good to see a shirt or two askew. He went back into the bathroom and looked in the mirror. Opening the drawer, he found more perfection. Who the hell keeps their drawers so organized? He picked up a hairbrush and ran it through his locks. Again. It would have to do. Fucking traffic. By the time Shoyo walked into the hospital, he was frazzled and hungry and in desperate need of a cup of coffee. He spotted Tadashi sitting in the lobby and headed in his direction. What happened? He asked impatiently. Tadashi took him by the arm and led him to the elevator. Kay broke his arm this morning mountain biking. It's pretty gruesome. Oh my god. Shoyo stopped dead in his tracks. Tadashi took his arm again and kept walking. He's just come out of surgery and we have him on a private floor. I'm going to put out a statement in about an hour. Tadashi, you didn't need to call me down here to tell me the deal's off. It's cool. I get it. Shoyo hadn't even unpacked yet. Unless you count all the clothes he tossed around looking for something clean to wear. God. If Kay saw his guest house right now, he'd be horrified. Actually, if Kay saw his own closet right now, he'd be even more horrified. Shoyo suddenly felt like a child whose mom was about to find out he'd broken the lamp. Our deal's not off. Not yet anyway. I'm still going over our options, but we figured we better have you here in case we decide to go forward with this. You can't be serious. He needs to focus on getting better, not on some fantasy you've invented. Tadashi held the elevator door open. Oh, for God's sake, Shoyo. It's a broken arm, not the end of the world. Just come up with me and we'll work it out. Trust me, he wants you here. Shoyo stared at him, not sure what to do. Tadashi motioned with his head for him to get in the elevator. And against his better judgment, he did. 2 hours later, Shoyo was still sitting in the waiting room. Tadashi walked in and waved him over. He'll see you now. 3 cups of bad hospital coffee, a dying phone battery and an uncomfortable chair had made Shoyo cranky. And on top of that, none of this makes any sense. He got up and brushed past Tadashi, walking down the hall faster than necessary. This is ridiculous. He has no business worrying about coming out of the damn closet right now. Tadashi grabbed Shoyo by the arm. Slow down, and if you don't mind keeping your voice down just a little. That would be great. Shoyo pulled his arm away. I thought you said this was a private floor. Private, not empty. Shoyo stopped and took a deep breath. Sorry. Where is he? Tadashi opened the door to Kei's room. Just hear him out and let me know your decision. Shoyo slowly walked into the room and stood at the foot of the bed. He put his hand over his mouth to stifle a gasp. Kei looked like hell. He had scratches on his face, a black eye and a big freaking cast on his right arm that was propped up with pillows. This wasn't good. Shoyo felt like an intruder. He took a few steps back, hoping to get out of there without being noticed. But Kei opened his eyes. Well, one eye. Hi. Shoyo gave a little wave. Kei motioned that he wanted Shoyo to come closer with a very limp wave of his hand. Shoyo stood at the side of the bed gripping the safety bar. It was even worse up close. Kei's left eye was swollen shut and he had several nasty-looking bruises on his good arm. Shoyo wasn't sure what to say. He swallowed hard and was about to make a joke to lighten the moment when Kei looked up at him. Do I look as bad as your face says I look? Worse. Shoyo gave a sympathetic smile. Fantastic. Kei pointed to the lighted X-ray with his thumb. Check that out. Shoyo grimaced. Oh my God. Is that your arm? What's left of it? Kei slurred. I hit the sand and went head first over my bike right into a pile of boulders. Smashed my humerus. I'm lucky I didn't break my neck. I'm so sorry. Me too. Not the best timing. Shoyo reached out to touch Kei but pulled his hand back. Look, I totally understand if you want to back out of our deal. My feelings won't be hurt at all. Kei tried to laugh but it came out as more of a drunk groan. You have feelings? Shoyo smirked. Okay, I guess I deserve that. Kei closed his eyes with a faint smile on his lips. These drugs are fantastic. And that blouse looks better on you than it does on me. Wow, he doesn't miss a thing. I was going to do laundry today but something came up. Hope you don't mind that I found something in your closet. I promise I didn't move anything. No, that's... Kei's head slowly drooped to one side and he fell asleep mid-sentence. Shoyo plopped down into a chair and settled in to watch Kei sleep. He was pretty sure the drugs were the only reason he didn't get reamed for going through Kei's closet. He looked at the clock and then focused on his phone. He needed to start looking for auditions again. Surely Kei's family, his friends, the people closest to him would descend on his house, leaving no room for Shoyo or this stupid plan. He groaned when his phone took its last breath and went dark. Hi, I'm Stephanie, Mr. Tsukishima's nurse. Shoyo looked at the clock again. He had been sitting there for a half an hour. Hi Stephanie, I'm Kei's. I'm Shoyo. Stephanie administered more pain meds and ran down her checklist. Everything looks good, so I'll be back in 30 minutes. Shoyo shot up. You'll make sure he stays medicated, right? You won't let the meds wear off? I only have 2 patients today so it won't be a problem. Thank you. I watched my mom suffer. Stephanie nodded her understanding. I won't let that happen. There wasn't any reason for Shoyo to stay since Kei was so heavily medicated. And if there was one thing in this world Shoyo hated, it was hospitals. Kei was in good hands. Except why were there goosebumps on his arms? Was he cold? Shoyo glanced around looking for another blanket. He found one along with a set of sheets and a pillow sitting on the recliner. Oh God. They didn't expect him to sleep here, did they? Shoyo unfolded the blanket enough to cover Kei's shoulders and arms. Thank you, Kei whispered, his one good eye barely opening enough to focus on Shoyo. His throat sounded dry. Shoyo picked up a mug of water and rested the straw on Kei's lips. Take a sip of water. Kei took a couple sips of water and immediately fell back to sleep. Shoyo set the mug down and stood motionless for a moment. He couldn't be here. It brought back too many bad memories of his mother lying helpless in a hospital bed slowly dying. Kei wasn't dying. Shoyo knew that. Still, it was too much. He wanted to say something. Some words of comfort. At least a goodbye. But his own throat had dried up. You'll be fine. Shoyo quickly left the room. He went down to the cafeteria and poured himself a tall cup of coffee to take with him in the car. He wasn't about to go back into heavy traffic without one. He saw Tadashi sitting in a chair in the lobby as he was walking out. Kei's too medicated to talk. I'll come back tomorrow, he said without stopping. Tadashi stood up. Shoyo, keep this under wraps, okay? Shoyo stopped and turned around. He was angry that Tadashi had forced him to be here with Kei when he was obviously in no condition to even talk. Let alone make major decisions. Jesus, Tadashi, we still have a contract. I'm pretty sure that covers broken arms. Besides, who am I going to tell? Tadashi put his hands up. Just sit tight until we figure out our next step. Shoyo stepped into his personal space and lowered his voice. If you're really as good as you say you are, you'd convince your client that this whole thing is a bad idea. Especially now. Shoyo walked away but Tadashi followed him. It's a good idea, Shoyo. Hell, an even better idea now. And it's not over, so get back on board and earn your money. Money. Shoyo definitely needed some of that. The first payment wasn't supposed to hit his account for 3 more days. He stopped just outside the door and pulled the keys to his new Range Rover out of his pocket. He stared at them for a long second, then at Tadashi. He needed this gig whether he liked it or not. What do you need from me? And please tell me I don't have to sleep in that damn recliner all night. He crossed his arms as he chided himself. It was a selfish thing to say out loud and he knew it. Is that what you need? What Kei needs. When you come pick him up in a few days and take him home, wear something nice. Tadashi looked him up and down. Nicer than this. There will be cameras. Shoyo looked down at his ill-fitting shorts and worn-out leather flip-flops. He made a mental note to find the business card Kei had given him with his stylist phone number on it. Maybe it will be fun getting a new wardrobe. Maybe the stylist could give him a new attitude too. Fine. Anything else? Just be a good friend and drive him home in your fancy new car, okay? Friend. Snazzy dresser. Got it. He headed toward his fancy car and waved behind him. Bye, Tadashi. Shoyo pulled into the driveway of his new home. The gate closing behind him. Blocking out the whole world. He sat there for a moment wondering how the hell he got here. He should be out there getting in front of every casting director in town. Getting a name for himself in LA. Not wasting precious time behind the walls of this mansion. Kei could wake up and decide exactly what he should decide. That this was a stupid plan concocted by his publicist and he should abandon it and fire him. Shoyo had it in writing, he reminded himself. Early termination bonus plus the car. But Kei will have to be the one to terminate the contract. Not him. That meant he'd be sticking around for at least a few more days. So he might as well enjoy it. Swimming pool, here I come. He mumbled as he got out of the car. After putting his laundry in the fanciest washing machine he'd ever seen. Shoyo turned a lounge chair toward the sun and sank into it. Sighing deeply as his head hit the soft cushion. He was determined to enjoy the sun before it got too low in the sky. On the drive back up the hill, Shoyo had taken note of the neighbors' homes. He couldn't really see the actual houses. Just the tall walls and security gates. From his viewpoint in the backyard, he couldn't see any houses or roof lines peeking through the trees. It was completely private. He laid there for a few minutes taking in the heat of the sun and enjoying the peace and quiet. After his morning of heavy traffic and a long wait at the hospital. It felt heavenly. His phone rang, pulling him out of his reverie. "Hi Dad." "Hey. Just checking in. Any luck today?" Shoyo got up and made his way into the guest house to get a towel. "Maybe. It's always, maybe, with those people. Always, we'll get back to you." "I know. But this might be different." "I mean, it is different but there's been a slight glitch. So I can't say anything yet." "I don't understand." His voice tightened. "I can't really say anything more yet. I signed a non-disclosure." "Oh, well that sounds promising. I guess if you're sworn to secrecy I better find something else to talk about." He paused. "How's the weather out there?" Shoyo laughed. "It's nice. Really nice." Shoyo figured it wouldn't hurt to start working on the cover story. "And I made a friend. Do you watch Leo's Appeal? It's that law show on Thursday nights." "Yeah, I've seen it once or twice." Shoyo smiled at his professor father. He hardly ever admitted to watching television. He wouldn't even admit to watching Shoyo's soap opera, but somehow he magically knew exactly what was happening on the show at any given moment. "Well, it's Kei Tsukihina, the man who plays Leo Harden. He's super nice. In fact, I'm staying at his place for a few days." "You're kidding." Shoyo laughed at his dad's surprised voice. "Nope. He's almost as good an actor as my son." "Aw thanks Dad. I love you too." Kei Tsukihina. "Wow. Someday you'll have to introduce me." Shoyo missed his dad. He wanted to invite him right then and there to come out to LA. But he wasn't sure what would happen in the next few days. "Maybe I'll bring him to New York sometime. I'm sure he'd love to meet my very smart, very handsome father." His father chuckled. "Okay kiddo. I'm glad to hear you're staying with him. I worry about you staying in that hotel. It's not in the best neighborhood." "Dad, we've been over this. First, you don't even know the neighborhoods in LA. Second, I can take care of myself. So don't worry, okay? It's my job as a father to worry. No matter how old you are. Get used to it. There's no man good enough for my son and there's no neighborhood safe enough," he declared to himself. "Oh, I've got to go. Class has started. Take care. I love you. Love you too Dad. Bye." Shoyo dipped his foot in the pool and then dove in. He came up out of the water for a breath of air and looked around again. There really wasn't any place in LA that was safer than Kei Tsukihina's fortress. His dad could rest easy. And so could he. Shoyo checked his watch. It was late. He walked up to the nurse's station. "I'm here to see Kei Tsukihina." "Your name?" "Shoyo Hinata." The nurse looked at her clipboard. "Yes. You're on the list. I'll need your ID." Thank God Tadashi had put him on the list. After lounging by the pool and making himself a fabulous dinner of salmon, roasted potatoes and white wine, the guilt had set in. So here he was, back at the hospital. He signed in and slowly made his way to Kei's room. Not even sure he was doing the right thing. Would Kei even want him there? The room was dark, except for a dim light coming from the bathroom. Kei was whimpering in his sleep. Shoyo leaned over the bed trying to get a closer look. "Are you in pain?" Kei stilled and opened his eyes. Only one actually opened. "No. Bad dream, I think." Shoyo went to the sink and wet a washcloth with cold water. He dabbed Kei's sweaty forehead and red cheeks. "Thank you," Kei whispered. "It feels good." He reached up and tried to touch his blackened eye. "Why won't my eye open?" Shoyo took his hand and held onto it. "You have a shiner. Don't touch it, okay? You sound like you're in West Side Story." Kei laughed but it quickly turned into tears. "Oh God really? Hey, it's cool." Shoyo gave his hand a squeeze. "You look like Rocky." Kei opened his good eye again, taking a long look at Shoyo. "You're that woman. I beg your pardon?" Kei was heavily medicated but did he really not recognize him? "Yo, Shoyo." Kei was imitating Rocky. He smiled and closed his good eye. Within seconds, he was asleep again. Shoyo laughed under his breath as he sat on the edge of the bed, his hands still fully wrapped around Kei's. He could let go, but Kay's hand felt cold, so he covered it with both of his. Startled, he jumped when the nurse came in. "Hi, I was just, He gently set Kay's hand on his stomach and backed away from the bed. He didn't belong there. Not really. Someone else should be holding Kay's hand. Not him. He likes a cold washcloth. He blurted out in a loud whisper. On his forehead. It, soothes him. The nurse nodded. Okay, maybe when he wakes up. Shoyo took a final look at Kay. He was resting peacefully. That was good. Shoyo could go back to the mansion now and maybe get some guilt-free rest. Take care, he whispered. 6. Kay read the last card and put it back in the envelope. The hospital room was full of bouquets and balloons from the cast and crew. Friends and acquaintances and even a few fans. His assistant Yachi had stopped by several times relaying everyone's messages of love and concern. He appreciated all of it, but he didn't want visitors and he'd told Yachi so. Just keep everyone away, he'd told her. Maybe it was rude, but he just wanted to go home and regain some of his privacy. He felt vulnerable in this hospital room. Even though it was a private floor, anyone could get in if they really wanted to. Wow, Shoyo exclaimed as he walked into the room. It looks like someone bought out the florist downstairs. Kay grinned from ear to ear. You're certainly a sight for sore eyes. He motioned with his hand up and down at Shoyo's body. Is all that for me? It was obvious Shoyo had taken some time in the mirror. His hair was blown straight and his white skinny jeans fit him like a glove. Hugging him in all the right places. You know why I'm dressed up. Kay tried to sit up a little but he had no strength. Actually, I don't even know why you're here. But you look fantastic. Shoyo furrowed his brow. I'm taking you home. Tadashi'd asked me. Oh my god. Do you two even talk? I've been a little under the weather these last few days. And high on cocaine or whatever it is they've been shooting into my arm. Shoyo pulled up a chair and sat next to the bed. He scanned Kay's face. You're looking a little better. Both eyes are working. Sort of. And your color is back. How are you feeling? Kay didn't want to think about how torn up his face was. He hadn't looked in the mirror yet. But he knew it was bad just by the way Tadashi and Yachi had looked at him. He also knew one eye was black because Tadashi had referred to it as a shiner. Kay was pretty sure he'd had a dream about Shoyo saying the same thing. He could feel the small lacerations on his cheeks and forehead. Probably from the prickly bushes he'd landed in. He figured he could look in the mirror and cry about it once he was back home. In the meantime, he wanted to turn his attention back to his fake boyfriend. You look tan. Have you been sipping drinks poolside? Shoyo glanced at his bare arms. Maybe. And clothes shopping, he said with a shrug. I'm a Kardashian now. It's what we do. That and sunbathe naked in the backyard. Kay's good eye widened in surprise. No. His mouth hung open for a second. What about drones? Kay hardly ever used his backyard. But being naked back there was absolutely never going to happen. With his luck, drones would fly overhead and his junk would be plastered all over the internet within hours. Drones? Shoyo got a quizzical look on his face. You think people fly drones over your house? Isn't that illegal? You never know. Better safe than sorry. Well, Shoyo wagged his eyebrows. They've had a great show the last few days. Kay smiled. Shoyo seemed more relaxed. Maybe even happy. Did you say you're taking me home? Yes. I got a text from Tadashi. Kay let his eyes wander down Shoyo's body. The first few buttons on the sleeveless dark gray silk blouse were undone, allowing a bit of chest to show. Will you be my nurse too? Shoyo rolled his eyes and laughed. You must be feeling better. Well, I'm not hallucinating anymore. I mean seriously, what's the appeal with heavy drugs? I felt like I was losing my mind. And they made my face itch. I really couldn't tell you. I was a good boy. Oh really? Kay raised his eyebrow. You're destroying my image of child stars. I thought you were all on acid by the age of 10. Shoyo shook his head. Nope. For me it was work. Not play. I have a very strict father. What about your mother? What about getting you out of here? Shoyo asked, trying to change the subject. That's what I'm here for. Although I never imagined my career would lead to being a chauffeur. They should be here any minute to discharge me. Kei casually wiped the sweat under his brow. Just trying to find a comfortable position for his broken arm completely wore him out. But he was trying his best to hide it. He was still on heavy pain meds, but not so heavy that they knocked him out completely. And what about at home? Do you have a nurse lined up? Your mom? A sister maybe? Kei bit his lip and smiled. I was hoping. Shoyo's eyes widen. Oh, no, 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 no. Kei, I'm not a foo. I'm not a nurse. Kei shook his finger at Shoyo. You were going to use that word again. I know. I'm working on trying not to sound so harsh. This is California, not New York. Kei laughed, which made him grimace in pain. Good luck with that. Shoyo leaned forward in his chair, grabbing the safety bar on the bed. Seriously, Kei, you need to hire a nurse. Or what about family? Let's just put everything on hold and you can have your mother come and stay with you. Kei huffed. My mother and her politics would drive me crazy. Come on, Shoyo. I need you. I'll pay extra. I'm not a nurse. Shoyo threw his hands in the air. You need someone who knows what they're doing. Someone who cares about you. Kei turned away. Oh God. Shoyo rested his hand on Kei's shoulder. That came out wrong. Look, I'm an actor, not a nurse. But you played one on TV. Maybe you could act like you have some capacity for empathy. See, this is exactly why I shouldn't be your nursemaid. The level of care wouldn't be up to par. I disagree. I think given the right incentive I would be very well taken care of. Shoyo shook his head. Kei, you're smart, Shoyo. Sassy as hell. With the chip on your shoulder the size of Texas. But smart. So why don't you come up with the way that makes this a win-win, because I really don't want to hold up progress on our plan just because I broke my arm, and I sure as hell don't want any more house guests. I'm sorry, but how are you even going to start shooting the next season? You've got what? A week and a half? Kei was worried about that too. He wanted to heal up and fast. They'll write it into the script. I'm always beating the crap out of that pissy little DA. Maybe he returns the favor. Literally. Anyway, I can't delay it. Shoyo bit his thumbnail as he thought about it. But will you be ready? He glanced over at the X-rays that were still hanging on the wall. The new one displayed several screws and 2 metal rods holding Kei's bone together. It's a pretty bad break. See, Shoyo, you're practically a radiologist already. Kei quipped. Just give it a shot. You know how I feel about strangers in my home. Shoyo stood up and started pacing. You're so paranoid. I have my reasons. And if someone like my mom is in the house, you'll have to move out for the plan to work. Plus, it looks like you've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle these past few days. Shoyo paced around for another minute, glancing at Kei every so often. Eventually, he walked over to the bed and leaned down so they were face to face. I'll do it on one condition. And it's a pretty big goddamn condition. Kei smiled up at him. That didn't take long. And you smell good, by the way. Shut up and listen. Because the only thing that would make it worth me babysitting your sorry ass is you getting your producers to give me a part on your show. Wow, you're even smarter than I thought you were. Done. I'm not finished. I have a story idea, but let me flush it out more before I pitch it to you. Just get me out of here first. Kei put out his hand so Shoyo could help him get out of bed. You can flush all you want poolside. Shoyo didn't take Kei's outstretched hand. He wanted more assurances. Tell me you have enough pull to make this happen. Look, I can't make any promises. You know that's not how it works. Actors don't write storylines. Kei dropped his hand. He didn't have the strength to keep it in the air. That having been said, it's my show. Show. Does anyone call you Show? I don't have enough strength to add the rest. You can call me whatever the hell you want if you can make this happen. But my producers never let me pitch anything. Thank God. Kei interrupted him. I'd hate to think you had anything to do with that storyline. Shoyo wagged a finger at Kei. So, you have seen it. Should I be flattered? I watched a few episodes on YouTube last night. Fascinating stuff. Shoyo rolled his eyes. Yeah, everyone's a damn critic. I was looking at the acting, not the storyline. Shoyo hesitated to ask. And Brandon fucking Cartwright is one messed up dude. But you are. Kay was interrupted by the nurse rolling in a wheelchair. Who's ready to leave this joint? Kay looked at Shoyo and smiled as he finished his sentence. A brilliant actor. Shoyo sprang into action, pulling the blanket back and helping Kay sit up. Brandon fucking Cartwright is actually a doctor. Thank you very much. But he did start out as a nurse. You'll be delighted to know I even have a uniform. Kay grimaced as he tried to work his way to the edge of the bed. Will you wear it for me? Shoyo helped Kay to his feet. Hell no. I was just making conversation. Kay pointed to the bathroom and started shuffling in that direction. You're an ass sometimes. You know that? The nurse laughed at their conversation. You two are a hoot. Shoyo turned around and smiled as he helped Kay into the bathroom. This is us on a good day. The nurse shook her head and pointed at Shoyo. Aren't you? Brandon fucking Cartwright. Nurse. Doctor. Brain surgeon. Identical twin. I knew it, the nurse exclaimed. Shoyo pulled Kay up to help him to the toilet. Kay swatted his hand away. I broke my arm, Nurse Cartwright. But I'm pretty sure I can pee on my own. He tried to gather himself on his own and quickly grabbed Shoyo's arm. Okay, maybe I do need help. Good God, this is seriously going to cost you. Good thing I'm rich. Kay closed his eyes and sighed as he relieved himself. Whatever you want, it's yours. Once Kay was out of the bathroom, Shoyo opened the large bag he'd brought and pulled out a few items. I tried to find something with big armholes. He held up a ripped tank top. Kay nodded his approval. Shoyo handed it to the nurse and turned away to give them some privacy. When Kay was dressed and the nurse was gone, he turned back around and pulled a baseball cap out of his bag. It was a Yankees hat that he'd had since high school. I thought you might want one since your hair is kind of destroyed. Kay ran his hand over his blonde hair trying to smooth it down. But it was no use. Only a shower and some good conditioner would take care of those knots. Yeah, I guess I'll need it. Shoyo handed it to him and folded his arms waiting for Kay to put it on. Don't lose it. It's my lucky hat. Kay looked down at the worn-out hat and grimaced. Maybe I'll have it dry cleaned before I give it back to you. Tadashi burst into the room. Hello fellas. He looked Shoyo up and down. Wow, a little effort goes a long way. Shoyo resisted the urge to flip him off. Tadashi looked at Kay, who was now sporting an old Yankees cap and a cast that went from his hand to his upper arm. Maybe we should have had the stylist swing by the hospital room. Kay actually did flip him off. Shut up, Tadashi. He looked up at Shoyo with pleading eyes. Can we do this please? Which part? The fake boyfriend or? Kay grabbed his arm and gave a gentle squeeze. Can you please take me home? Shoyo wanted to make another joke about how much it would cost, but seeing the pleading look in Kay's eye stopped him. Let's do this. The sliding glass doors opened and cameras started flashing. They were all yelling for Kay to look their way. Someone shouted, "Who's your friend Kay?" But Kay kept his head down, letting the brim of the baseball cap cover his face as he gave them a little wave and a thumbs up. Shoyo was shell-shocked at first. The cameras flashing in his eyes. Tadashi touched his arm, getting his attention. You're blocked in. Let's get him to my car. Even though Shoyo had spent his life in the business, he'd never experienced any kind of paparazzi before. He quickly recovered and pushed the wheelchair to Tadashi's black Escalade and helped Kay into the backseat. He buckled Kay's seatbelt and patted his hand. I'll see you at home, okay? Kay winced in pain as he tried to find a comfortable position for his arm. Shoyo reached across him and put the middle armrest down. Maybe this will help. Thank you. Kay's face contorted in pain as he moved his arm onto the rest. God, it hurts. He whispered. Do you have your pain meds? Kay winced again. The script is in my pocket. Are you going to tell me which one or do I need to? Shoyo ran his hand up Kay's jean-clad leg to his front pocket. It's the back pocket. Their eyes met for a second and Shoyo quickly moved his hand. Right. He reached behind Kay and pulled out the prescription. Got it. I'd make a joke about you enjoying that a little too much, but I don't have the energy. Shoyo smirked. Yeah, you're so damn sexy right now with your greasy hair. And what is that smell? Okay, fellas. Tadashi motioned with his head at the cameras. Kay reached for Shoyo's arm. See you at home? He looked frightened. And honestly, he should be. Considering he was going home to an empty house with no one there to take care of him except Shoyo. It was crazy. But Shoyo had agreed to it and he'd hold up his end of the deal. Yeah, see you at home. 7. Tadashi stepped out the front door as Shoyo pulled into the driveway. He got out of the car with a filled prescription in hand. Sorry. The pharmacy was busy. He's on the sofa. Tadashi looked back at the house and paused for a moment. A look of concern evident in his eyes. What's wrong? Tadashi, is he okay? Shoyo started to panic. You can't leave me here alone with him if he's not okay. I have no idea what I'm doing. Calm down. It'll be fine. Kay is a very private person. The only reason I'm here is because I'm one of the few people he actually trusts in this world. And apparently now he trusts you too. Shoyo slowly shook his head. I have no idea why. Neither do I. Quite frankly, he barely knows you and a signed non-disclosure hardly makes you qualified to take care of him. That's what I tried to tell him. Will you try to talk some sense into him? It's not my decision. Tadashi pulled his keys out of his pocket and nervously shook them in his hand. Look, if you need anything, call me first. I'll have groceries delivered tomorrow. And I'll check in every so often, but I really think he wants to recover in private. No visitors. And don't take any photos of his face. Even if it's just for fun. We don't need someone hacking your phone and selling them to the highest bidder. Got it. But what if his family shows up? Surely Kay has family who will want to be involved in his recovery or at least stop by to check on his well-being. Shoyo didn't feel comfortable turning family away. He's an only child. His parents are divorced. He's not very close to his dad. We've given them the heads up, but he's putting his mother off hoping she'll stay away. Tadashi opened his car door. I'll call later tonight to see how it's going. Shoyo waited until the gate closed behind Tadashi's car and then went into the house. He found Kay resting on the sofa, sitting on the coffee table. He inspected Kay closely. He took in his coloring and the rise and fall of his chest. He seemed to be resting well. Just when Shoyo was about to stand up, Kay opened his eyes. Do you need anything? A glass of water? A blanket? Turn back time? Kay didn't know where to start. He needed food so he could take more meds. He needed a bath. He needed to wash his hair. He needed to cry. I stink. Yeah, you do. I can smell you from here. Shoyo jokingly put his finger under his nose. Will you help me? Kay's voice sounded weaker than it had in the hospital. He'd tried to be brave and act stronger than he really was just so he could get out of there and come home. He was so happy to be home, but he had no strength to do anything except breathe. And even that hurt. What if I tape a trash bag to your arm and help you shower? Kay nodded, tears forming in his eyes. He wasn't sure if he was up to it, but he desperately wanted to be clean again. The nurse had done her best, but he still had dirt under his fingernails from the fall and he felt sticky all over. Not to mention his matted greasy hair. Let's give it a try. The shower worked out okay. Kay quickly had to accept the fact that Shoyo would see him naked. There was no getting around it. Truth be told, with all of the bumps and bruises, it probably wasn't much of a show anyway. He tried to keep his back to Shoyo as much as possible, letting him wash his hair and soap down his backside. They worked in silence, neither one in the mood to make jokes. Shoyo took a pair of scissors to an oversized t-shirt he found in the closet. He cut open the neck and sleeves so it was easier to put on. By the time Kay got settled in bed, he was in a cold sweat again. Every move took all his energy. Once he was truly settled and seemed to be comfortable, Shoyo went back downstairs and heated up a can of soup and toasted a couple slices of bread. They ate together on Kay's bed, watching the Not So Late Show with Johnny Falcon. Have you met him? Yeah, I've been on his show a few times. He was always sweet to me. Kei was struggling to eat with his left hand. Shoyo noticed and took over. God, I even have to hand feed you. What's next? Wiping your ass. Would you rather clean up the mess I make from trying to wipe my ass with my left hand or just do it yourself? Shoyo pulled the spoon away. Are you serious? Kei nodded slowly. I'll pay you $1,000 to wipe my ass. Shoyo dropped the spoon in the soup. I have my limits, you know. You can't just throw money at me and expect that all. $1 million. Charmin or Cottonelle. See, everyone has a price. Shoyo shook his head in disbelief. You realize there are nurses for this shit. Literally, a nurse will come here and do that for you for like, I don't know, $50. Kei just stared at him. Shoyo sighed. Okay, fine. I don't know what the going rate is for ass wiping, but I'm pretty sure a real nurse would charge less than $1,000. Give me another spoonful of soup. I need to take a pill. Shoyo reluctantly did as he was told. I really don't understand why you don't want a professional. Is this some sort of power play? Emotion welled up in Kei's eyes. No, I promise it's not. Kei knew none of this made sense, but he wasn't sure he could explain how he felt without revealing too much of his life to Shoyo. And he wasn't ready for that. This house is the only place in the world I feel truly safe. I don't want strangers in my bedroom. I don't want people poking around. And one day I might not have a choice in that. But today I do. But I'm a stranger. I poked around your closet and stole a blouse. You didn't even flinch when you saw me wearing it. Kei shrugged. Well, I was pretty high. Besides, you needed a blouse. Keep it. It looks good on you. Shoyo shook his head in disbelief. I don't understand you, but whatever. Open up. He filled the spoon and held it in front of Kei's mouth. And just so you know, I plan to charge per wipe. Shoyo was right. Had it been anyone else, Kei would have been horrified, wondering which drawers had been rifled through and what photos had been taken of his underthings. He couldn't put into words how he felt when he fell off his bike and broke his arm. Someone saw it happen and called the ambulance for him. They found his phone in his pocket and asked who they could call. His first thought was Shoyo. But he hadn't memorized his number, and Kei sure as hell wasn't going to give a total stranger the password to his phone. As much as he didn't want to trust Shoyo and as much as he wanted to keep him at a distance out in the guest house, something inside told him Shoyo wouldn't betray his trust. Yes, he was a colossal pain in the ass. But his gut told him Shoyo wouldn't take advantage of him, and Kei had learned to trust his gut. Shoyo awoke with a start and sat up on the sofa. 3 a.m. Shit. He was an hour late. He ran up the stairs to Kei's room and opened the door. Even with the low lighting in the room, he could see that Kei's face was covered in sweat. Thank God, Kei whispered. He was shaking, almost like he was shivering. I'm so sorry. Shoyo grabbed the pills and filled a glass with water from the bathroom sink. He sat on the edge of the bed. I'm sorry. He grabbed a packet of soda crackers, breaking one in half, and watched as Kei ate it. Once Kei had swallowed, Shoyo put the pills in Kei's hand. But he was too shaky to do anything with them. Shoyo took them back and put them in Kei's mouth. He held the glass for him to drink and then blotted his forehead with a towel. Kei swallowed the pills and tried to settle his breathing. Don't touch me. Don't move the bed, he breathed out. Closing his eyes, Shoyo sat as still as he could. His heart pounded in his chest. He berated himself for thinking he could watch TV without falling asleep. I'll set an alarm on my phone. I couldn't reach my phone to call you. I think it fell off the bed. Kei pointed at the floor. You need a real nurse, Kei. No matter what the situation. Shoyo couldn't stand seeing anyone in pain, especially when it could be avoided. Kei rested his hand on Shoyo's leg and closed his eyes. No, I just need you. Please stay. Shoyo waited until Kei's breath evened out before he dared move. He carefully stood up and backed away, a look of fear in his eyes and a big ball of guilt sitting heavy in his stomach. He sat in an overstuffed chair in the corner, setting his alarm before he wrapped a quilt around himself. In the morning, He'd have a much-needed conversation with Kei. Shoyo took the breakfast tray away and sat on the edge of the bed. They both had dark circles under their eyes from a lack of sleep, but Kei was well medicated and seemed to be experiencing less pain at the moment. I'm going to try one more time to convince you to get a real nurse. Kei tried to sit up, but Shoyo put his hand on Kei's good shoulder, keeping him where he was. However, if you're so fucking determined to put us both through this hell. He sat a folder on Kei's leg. Then you're going to have to keep up your end of the bargain. What's this? The idea I told you about in the hospital. You pitch this to your producers and you won't have to do this big coming out thing because you'll already be out and America will love it. Kei eyed Shoyo suspiciously for a few seconds. He opened the folder. At the top of the page was written, "A story arc for Leo's appeal." Kei read the first few lines and smiled. Shrewd. You're very shrewd. You like it? Shoyo's eyes were full of hope. I didn't say that. And this isn't a bit part for you. It's a reoccurring role. Okay, stop reading. Shoyo grabbed the folder and held it against his chest. Let me pitch it to you. Leo is working on a big case when he was in an accident. Car, bike, whatever. He breaks his arm. Turns him into a real asshole. Kei cleared his throat and raised an eyebrow. What? It's fiction. Shoyo tossed the folder on the bed and continued. Now he needs help with everything. He can't drive. He can't type. He can't even get his classy courtroom suit jackets on. So he picks a first-year associate in his firm to take on the job of being his little helper. Kei pointed at Shoyo. Your character. Yes. Only my character isn't flattered about being the chosen one. He was a Harvard Law School graduate and this is beneath him. He thinks one of the paralegals should be changing bandages, not someone who made fucking law review. So your character swears as much as you do. Let me guess. They bicker about it, which the audience loves, and Jordan says, either you help me or you're gone. Exactly. Except for the swearing. This is network TV. Anyway, there's this energy between them. This love-hate thing. Kei took the folder and opened it again. More love than hate. From the looks of things. Feeling excited that Kei could see his vision for the storyline. Shoyo scooted a little closer and put his hand on Kei's leg. Here's the thing. We do this without the producers knowing it's coming. Because then they'll think it's their idea. They'll see the chemistry between us. America will see it. And they'll want more. Shoyo paused, waiting for Kei's response. Tell me more about this chemistry you think we have. Shut up. It's acting. Remember? You're not the only one who watched YouTube. You're not half bad either. Not half bad? I believe I said you were brilliant. And all I get is not half bad? Well, we can't all have such rich nuance material to work with. Shoyo suppressed a smile. Okay, fine. You're brilliant too. Kei considered the storyline for a moment. So I tell them it's a bit part for you while my arm heals, but we make it more just because we can? Kei shook his head. This is totally Rizzoli and Isles. Right, but with real live gays. You know we can do this. Shoyo pleaded. It'll be subtle at first. People will replay the littlest things and think to themselves, is there something happening between those two? Kei knew they could convince the audience of anything. He just wasn't sure it was as good a plan as Shoyo thought it was. There were things to consider. Like how working together would affect living together. He relaxed against his pillow and studied Shoyo, who was sitting there looking all gorgeous and determined. He needed to be careful. If I say yes, we keep our deal. We keep it professional. His eyes fell to Shoyo's hand that was currently resting on his thigh. Shoyo pulled his hand away. Of course. I just don't want you to think. Shoyo stood up, putting some distance between them. I assure you, I don't think anything. Nor do I want anything except an actual acting gig. Not this bullshit real life. He waved his hand in the air. Nursing crap. Good. Kei nodded his agreement. He wanted to keep the lines clear between a working relationship and a real one. He trusted Shoyo, but not necessarily with his heart. We need to keep this what it is. Oh, my God. Shoyo laughed dryly. You realize you're not even a little bit attractive right now. And last night you informed me that I'd be wiping your ass. Trust me when I say that the last thing you need to worry about is me jumping your bones or falling in love with your sorry ass." Kei wasn't sure whether to laugh or be pissed. While it was true he didn't want Shoyo getting any romantic thoughts in his head. He by no means wanted him to be repelled by the thought of it. Got it. Heart is in New York. Wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole. Definitely not in any way attractive right now. He absent-mindedly ran his hand over his hair that was now clean but probably looked like a rat's nest. "And just how does having you on my show help me come out?" Shoyo's excitement bubbled to the surface again. "Because you'll already be in a relationship with me on the show. So when you fall in love with your co-star in real life, it won't be such a big mental leap for people. You won't have to announce it. It'll just be a natural progression. And more importantly, we're going to kill this on screen so people will be dying for us to be together. They'll completely forget our characters aren't real." Shoyo narrowed his eyes. "You know, just as soon as we do something about that hair. You can't even brush it with your left hand, can you? Do you mind?" Shoyo huffed as he stood up. "You don't have to give me those sad puppy dog eyes. Just ask." "Well, I tried that with the ass wiping thing but I got a lot of pushback." Shoyo found a brush in the bathroom and sat down on the edge of the bed. Kei closed his eyes while Shoyo carefully ran the brush through his hair. Finally something felt good after days of agonizing pain. It was such a stupid accident and the timing couldn't have been worse. His face was a mess. His body was a mess. How could he possibly get in front of the camera looking like this? Just thinking about it, Shoyo pulled the brush back. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Just some pent-up stuff." "You're not in pain, are you?" Shoyo shook his head. "Like you said, I'm not really attractive right now. How am I supposed to?" "Oh my god. You're fishing for a compliment, aren't you?" "What?" "No, I get it. You're used to being the most beautiful person in the room." Shoyo picked up the lip balm. "But your lips are chapped and your breath smells." And Kei batted Shoyo's hand away, causing the lip balm to go flying across the room. "There's a reason for that, genius. I haven't brushed my teeth yet. Now help me get up." Shoyo followed Kei into the bathroom. "If it's any consolation, you still have the best ass in the room. All that mountain biking has really paid off." Kei unsuccessfully tried to pull his t-shirt down to cover his ass. He watched while Shoyo put toothpaste on the toothbrush. Trying not to smile, he awkwardly brushed his teeth with his left hand while Shoyo tidied up the bathroom. Picking up towels and wiping down the counter. The hand towel Kei normally set his toothbrush on was missing. Just when he was about to go to the closet to find a replacement, a new one was set down in front of him. "Thank you." Kei didn't know if he was thanking Shoyo for the compliment or the towel. Probably both. "I'll run your idea by Tadashi." Kei looked at Shoyo in the mirror. "I trust his instincts. If he likes it, I'll pitch it to the producers. Maybe they'll be thrilled we have a solution. Especially if it involves me not missing a minute of work. Just be prepared that they might not be all that interested in a story idea from the talent." Shoyo gave an unconvincing nod. Yeah, I got it. Good. Now can you help me to the toilet please?" Shoyo groaned in frustration. "God. This better be worth it." 8. "Kei? It's Yachi. Can I come in?" "Come in, Yachi," Kei said from the bathroom. Shoyo wrapped a towel around Kei's wet body. "Who's Yachi?" He grabbed another towel and ran it over Kei's wet hair. "My assistant. I need to get back in bed." Kei grabbed on to Shoyo's arm. "I feel like I'm going to fall over." "I've got you." Shoyo helped Kei out of the bathroom and back to his bed. Yachi, a cute petite girl with short blonde hair, was setting up what looked like a rather large selection of cold-pressed juices with health supplements on the dresser. "Don't worry. I've got this, Kei. We'll have you back on the set in no time." She looked up and saw Shoyo. "Oh, sorry, I didn't know you had a guest." She looked at him a little closer and furrowed her brow. "Oh my god. How did you get Dr. Brandon Cartwright?" "Oh, for Christ's sake." Shoyo thoroughly enjoyed the look of annoyance on Kei's face. Kei wasn't the only one who had fans. "Hi Yachi, I'm Shoyo." He walked over and shook Yachi's hand. Yachi slapped a hand over her mouth. It's really you. We grew up together. I wanted to be you. Desperately needing to see Kei's reaction to his assistant being a big soap fan. Shoyo turned around and was greeted with an eye roll and a shake of the head. Yes. Yachi, it's really him. We're all so grateful to have daytime's most accomplished doctor here to help me get dressed. When he's in between heart transplants, of course. Ignore your pain in the ass, boss Yachi. Kei and I are friends. Yachi jumped up and down and grabbed Shoyo, pulling him in for a hug. I had no idea. My sister is going to die, and my mom will just completely flip out. She wanted to kill your mother for hiding your identical twin all those years ago. But like Mom said, it was a different time back then and wealthy people could get away with just about anything. Yachi. Kei shouted. Yachi got a look of panic on her face. Shoot. We'll talk later, okay? Shoyo covered his mouth, trying to hold back a laugh as Yachi walked over to the bed and sat on the edge. Kei put a pillow under his arm, trying to get it in a comfortable position. What are the rumblings? Kei looked pale and weak after his shower. Well, they're freaking out a little bit. The writers are trying to figure out how they can write you out of the first few episodes. What? That's ridiculous, there's no way. That's a breach of contract. Get my agent on the phone. Or my lawyer. Or someone. Boris is already on it. Don't worry. There's no way they're writing you out. It'd be like writing Olivia Pope out of Scandal. Yachi looked over at Shoyo. Or when they wrote Dr. Brandon Cartwright out of Light of Day. The show hasn't been the same since. Thank you, Yachi. That's nice of you to say. Shoyo bit his lip to keep from laughing. He turned away from them, suddenly finding interest in the cold-pressed juices Yachi had brought. He picked a bottle up and grimaced as he read the ingredients. Yachi tore her loving gaze from Shoyo and focused on Kei again. I know how you are about your privacy, but don't worry. I'm a certified nurse's aide and I dabble in homeopathy. Shoyo's eyes widened in surprise. He whipped his head around. You're a CNA? Yachi almost swooned at Shoyo. Yeah, I wanted to be a doctor like you, but... She glanced at Kei. Life got in the way. Shoyo moved closer, standing at the end of the bed. Yachi's a CNA. She could. Kei put up his hand. Yachi, I appreciate your concern, but Shoyo's staying in the guest house. Yeah, but Yachi could help with the heavy lifting. Kei shot him a glare. Heavy lifting? Yachi glanced at Shoyo with a look that said she'd died and gone to heaven. You're staying in the guest house here at Kei's? Kei sat up a little straighter in bed, grimacing in pain as he did so. Okay, both of you just shut up and listen. Yachi, no one is writing me off the show. I'll be ready. Got it? Got it. And I'll let you know when I need something. But Shoyo will be doing most of the heavy lifting, as he puts it. Since he has so much experience being a nurse or doctor or whatever. Shoyo frowned. Yeah, and Kei can defend me in court when I go insane and commit a heinous crime due to all the heavy lifting. Or maybe just sue your ass for malpractice. It took Yachi a second, but then she laughed. Because Kei plays a lawyer. I get it. She stood up. Okay, well, I know you're in very good hands, Kei. She turned to Shoyo, getting that dreamy look on her face again. I'll leave my CNA kit if you want. Stethoscope, blood pressure cuff, thermometer, pretty much everything you'll need. Shoyo gave her a smile back. Absolutely. I'll need all of it. Yachi hugged Shoyo again, gripping his shoulders as she pulled away. I can't wait to tell my mom I met you and we're all praying for you to come back to Light of Day. They didn't kill you off, so there's still hope. Huh, like that's ever stopped them. You're never really dead on soap operas. Shoyo smirked at Yachi. Suddenly he's an expert? Yachi gave him a knowing smirk back. He doesn't know what he's missing. Maybe he and his mom would be closer if they watched your show together. I can hear you. I may look like The Walking Dead, but my ears work just fine. Yachi bit her lip. Okay then, call if you need me. She winked at Shoyo and went to the door. After seeing Yachi out, Shoyo went back to Kei's room. He pulled up a chair to the bed and sat down. Kei opened his eyes and closed them again. I don't want to hear it. You let me think you had no one to take care of you, and here's Yachi. Ready and willing. Not to mention the fact that your phone rings non-stop with your mom and everyone at work calling. Kei turned away from him. What is it with you? Shoyo asked in frustration. Why would you rather have a stranger take care of you? That stranger's a doctor, and a good one, I hear. Brain surgeon or something. But if that thermometer comes anywhere near my ass. Shoyo sighed. He obviously wasn't going to get a straight answer from him. Not now, or probably ever. You're obsessed with your own ass. You know that, right? He sighed again. Okay. It's time for your medicine. You can drink that shit Yachi brought, or I can make you some real food. Kei closed his eyes and breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, thank God. Real food, please. Anything else is fine. Long as a cup of coffee makes its way up the stairs. Shoyo headed downstairs to the kitchen. He hoped all this effort was worth it. He needed his life back.